Today's podcast is sponsored by Bodibro. Bodibro are a sportswear company based in County Wexford. Be sure to check out their website and social media accounts, and I will leave the links to them in the video description. Owen, thanks very much for coming on. How are you keeping these days? We seem to be coming out of the lockdown anyways now.
Yeah, great. I think things are a lot better and it's a lot more positive now, especially with the announcement today that the GA are opening pitches and stuff on the June 29th and that there's contact involved. So I think every day we're getting more positive news. So it's giving everyone a lift and it's mighty out there.
Do you like how they're going back with the clubs first and you get your 10 or 11 weeks, whatever it is, back with the clubs and then the inter-counties later in the year?
It's a good idea. In fairness, it kind of eases everyone back into it because I suppose if the counties were straight back into, I suppose, championship and league fixtures, which are, I suppose, high pressure games, managers would feel under a lot of pressure, and I suppose you might be going 7 days a week with trainings because you have very little time to prepare. But now I think it gives everyone a chance to ease into the club season and then following on to the county season then. So no, I think it's a good idea and it's working well so far, I think, anyway.
Yeah, would you, I suppose, been hard to stay motivated maybe sort of the start of April, mid-April, when it didn't look like we'd have any football, just to even keep doing the bit of training yourself?
Yeah, I suppose I ended up having a long club year last year, so I kind of didn't take much time off before going back with the county. I only took 2 or 3 weeks off, so it was a good time for me to kind of, I suppose, reset and just focus on different parts of my game that I need to improve on. So I suppose, like other players, I made use of the time as well because that's all we could do. We didn't know what was ahead of us. So no, I made use of the time. So it was efficient anyway above all else.
Yeah, do you even think we might see a few more upsets than usual this year with maybe teams not being at the fitness levels that they were in start maybe February, March in the club championships and maybe even in the inter-county championship later in the year?
Definitely, yeah. I think you'd even see it there in the German league, which has started off, I think, something like, is it 55% of teams, away teams have won fixtures, which is unheard of, really. So, like that, tables have turned big time, and I suppose a lot of clubs who didn't normally fancy their chances will give this club championship a real go, and the same in the county scene. So, it's going to be very interesting, and you know what? I suppose it's great for people too that they can look forward to it from different clubs and counties, and it'll give them a bit of a lift as well.
Yeah, so move on to a bit about Clare now. 2014, you made your debut for Clare. How did it all come about coming into the panel firstly?
Yeah, it was funny actually. I was brought into the senior panel first at the end of 2013, and I was dropped in. I was told to concentrate on the 21s for a while. And the 21s championship finished in, and I went back playing with the club for a while. And I kind of thought my chance was gone for the year because Clare were after getting to the league final and doing quite well and getting promoted. But I showed a bit of good form in the club championship, and thankfully then Cullum brought me in and gave me a chance then. So I was glad of it really because I suppose I was at a stage where I was dying to get involved with the lads because they were progressing really well, and I was delighted that Cullum gave me the chance.
Yeah, is it difficult in a county maybe like Clare? I know I had Conor Sweeney on before as well, though even the predominantly it's probably a hurling county is best known for. Is it difficult for the footballers at all?
It is in some aspects because I suppose you have some guys in the hurling panel who really would strengthen our panel if they chose football instead of hurling. I'm sure we have 1 or 2 guys as well who also would strengthen the hurling panel who are very capable hurlers. So I suppose there's a good crossover there, but of course I suppose if we had some of the guys on their panel onto our panel, it would make a huge difference to I suppose Clare football in itself. So it's I suppose sometimes in the crossover when a county where hurling is more popular, then you kind of lose out in times in football because hurlers might choose to play with Clare instead of playing football for Clare. So I suppose that's kind of a loss in a way, but no, I suppose the last 2 years, a lot of guys have chosen to play football instead of hurling with Clare, so that's been a positive, and it's put a positive spin on things as well.
Yeah, the Munster Championship in general, is it hard to get motivated in some ways that, Kerry have won the last, whatever it is, 7, 8 in a row? Or are you going in the mindset that, it's the aim to get to a Munster final every year and we'll see what happens then maybe, if we put up a performance against the likes of a Kerry or Cork?
Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, we've had two games in 2014 and 2017 in the park, and even last year when we've been very close to Kerry, but
Mm.
unfortunately didn't get over the line. But I can see alright how supporters would look on and say that they'd like to see an open draw and travel up the country, because the qualifiers is great. That way you get to go to different
Yeah.
parts of the country and get on the road and stuff. So there's an argument to be made there that maybe they should just do an open draw for this coming championship and future championships. But no, listen, I suppose the aim is to get to the Munster final. I suppose you'd like to emulate the Clare 92 team if at all possible. If you got a good run going, so that's kind of the aim as such. But no, I'd still be in favour of having the Munster Championship, because I think it's a great championship in itself. There is some great games in some years. Other years, I suppose,
Mm.
like that, Kerry have got the better of a lot of teams, handy enough. But I suppose sometimes it can be overlooked, some of the games which are closer, and they can just say that certain teams run away with it, when in reality certain games are a lot closer, you know.
Yeah, well, I suppose probably 2016 was your big year, if you like, in the last decade. Obviously, you lost to Kerry in the Munster, but you got a good run at going in the qualifiers. Talk to me, what was that like playing nearly weekend after weekend? You bet Laois, Sligo, and we'll talk about Roscommon in a while, but the Laois and Sligo games first.
Yeah, they were brilliant games to play, and I suppose we got good momentum going from winning the Division Three league final, and that kind of came on to Championship. Now Kerry, I suppose, gave us a good lesson down in Killarney, and we regrouped in, and we kicked, I think, 4 of the last 5 points in that Laois game, and that was a serious win on a wet day, and it gave us great belief that we could win the next game, whoever we were playing. And then we drew Sligo, and we performed very well. We struggled at the start, but once we kind of found our feet, we got David Tubley kicked a good few points that game, and Carl O'Connor. So a few guys stood up, and thankfully we got over the line. And I suppose like that, we didn't. When you get that win and run going, you don't mind who
Mm.
you play. It's just week on week momentum brings you that way. It's different when you're losing games. It's tougher to pick yourself up. But no, that was a really good year now, and it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, is the draw a big thing in the qualifiers, that you might get a home team against Division 2 or 3 team rather than, we'll just say, a Tyrone along the way? Like, does that give you that bit of confidence that you're playing teams of a similar level to yourselves?
I suppose you would have that bit more confidence if you played a team before and you beat them, as opposed to a team who you haven't played before, a team that who might perceive to be better than you. But I suppose, as we saw in the Roscommon game, they would have been perceived to be a lot better than us. But because of the performance we brought and the belief we brought to the game, we got a result. So it's funny that way. Like, you can kind of catch teams if you're organised, and you kind of if you go with a belief as well. Because if you don't believe you can beat these teams, there's really no point in going out and playing them, because it'll reflect in your performance as well. You can see sometimes teams are beaten before they even go out and play.
Yeah, even on that Roscommon one, obviously they were Division 1 that year, but they just got hammered in the kind of final the week before. Did you nearly feel that they were vulnerable and this was a great opportunity to take out one of the top 8 teams, if you like?
Yeah, I suppose that we saw it as a great opportunity because of the momentum we had, and it was very tough. I think it was a replay. Was it a replay as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose they were after having 2 games in the trot, and I suppose losing a kind of final the week before was going to be tough on the bodies and that. So we did see it as a real opportunity, and thankfully we took it, because we played Roscommon in the league this year, and they beat us by a few points, so they showed what a fine side they were. But that year, it was good to take advantage of the opportunity that was in front of us, because like that, when an opportunity presents itself so well to you, you have to take it, because you don't know. We haven't got back there since, so I suppose we just have to hope that when that opportunity presents itself again, that we're there to take it.
Yeah, do you think then sort of big wins again, yeah, like the likes of the Roscommon one, that it'll encourage maybe younger lads that are deciding between hurling and football, that might encourage them to pick up the football a bit more?
Definitely, yeah. I think that's what kind of Cullen brought to the setup. He kind of brought that belief in Clare football, and we've gone up the 2 divisions since he came in. So you'd even see it in our minor and 20 sides there. Some guys who are talented about are starting to choose football instead of hurling, which is great to see as well, I'm sure. I'm sure to be well capable of playing with the hurling team as well, but they've decided to choose football, and you see it there. Like, I was even at the 20s game this year against Cork. They played a fine Cork side, and there wasn't much between them, and there was some really talented guys playing that day. So the future is bright for for a lot of those fellas and for Clare football, because these guys have decided to throw their lot in with the footballers.
Yeah, like the quarter final then obviously it's great to get there. Was it nearly a bit disappointing that it was Kerry again and it wasn't just someone else, that you played them so many times and they were there waiting for you in the quarters?
Definitely, yeah. I think even the novelty of it would have been, I suppose, nice to play someone different. Again, Kerry gave us a good lesson that day, but I think just to play someone else in that stage of championship would have been nice. Again, just because we meet them every year in the Munster Championship. So when we got out of the Munster Championship, I suppose it would have been nice to see someone else. But in fairness, I suppose if you want to go all the way, or you want to go to make a semi-final, that you're going to have to play the best team. So we knew at that stage there was a good chance we were going to play a Kerry or a Dublin. So you have to play the teams that are in front of you. But yeah, I'd agree. I think it would have been nice to play someone different just for the novelty of it alone.
Yeah, so looking back, was a great experience even just playing at a quarter final, because you've seen over the years now, you usually have maybe the 7 usual ones and you might get the odd one then that might sneak in.
Yeah, definitely. I think even with the Super 8s now, it's kind of all big build towards the top 8 ranked teams to try and, I suppose, get them into the Super 8s itself. So like that, it was great to make quarterfinal in, because I suppose the last 3 years it's very few teams have got there of the usual candidates. So yeah, I know it's nice to have, but like that, we had a great opportunity to get there last year, and it was unfortunate that we slipped up against Meath. But hopefully the opportunity presents itself again.
Yeah, you just mentioned there, would that be a disappointment that you had a chance there to get to the Super 8 and just build Clare football up again, and that you just didn't make it that day?
Yeah, it definitely was fierce disappointing. I suppose there was certain aspects of our game which let us down, that they, even myself there, I just heard a performance that day. And I suppose you look on those games that with I suppose a lot of regrets, because small things would have turned the game, and you saw them meet in the Super 8s. They performed very well, and they're a very good side. So, and then obviously brought them on a lot. Even in the league this year, they're very close in a lot of games against a lot of big teams. So I suppose we were craving to get to a quarter final, but I suppose you're just hoping you get there again. You get another shot at it, while I suppose Cullum's still involved, because he's brought great structure and belief to this setup. And like that, if that opportunity arises again, we'd be hoping we'd be able to take it.
Yeah, as you said there, even you were like in the mindset that you want to play the best teams that'll actually bring you on, rather than obviously you have other people then saying, well, these one-sided games, but you need to nearly play the bigger teams just to bring on Clare football that bit more.
Oh, you do, yeah. And I know there was this argument about the second tier for this year, but I remember even in Cullum's first year watching the lads, they got to Division 4 final, and in the championship we played Kerry, and I think there was 4 points in it for a finish in Cusack Park, but that game brought our lads on a lot, just even playing that pace, and Kerry ended up winning All Ireland that year. So if we were in a second tier, we wouldn't have got that opportunity to improve ourselves against a Kerry side. So that's the argument I'd have for the I suppose every team to be in the first tier. I know no one's entitled to be in it, but I think to improve counties and the pace of football they play at, they need to be playing at a higher level, because I think the leagues give teams a chance to play teams at maybe their own level, and then the counties or the championship, is a chance then to improve yourself against bigger teams.
Yeah, would you even like the championship to be restructured in a way that maybe keep the provincials and then sort of have the league structure, and then that's based off that leads into the tier 2, then that you earn your right to play the All Ireland Sam Maguire, and then if you don't, you still have a chance to play in the tier 2.
Yeah, it's a fair point, because I suppose a lot of people have the argument that the leagues are the best competition in the GA, but it's just played the wrong time of year. And I suppose in our own division this year, we've seen that in Division 2 is a minefield. With 2 games left to play, there's nothing between top or bottom. So if that was played during the summer, you probably have better football, and you'd have a lot of games as well, which is all players want. So I suppose if they turned the tables maybe and put a Munster Championship in February or March, in the leagues in the summer months, it would be, it'd be something to think about, because it's a lot more games for people and players to be involved in.
Yeah, as you said there, you probably even just want to play games in the summer months, because a lot of players they're knocked out the provincial the first round and then the qualifiers first round as well, and you only get 2 games. You probably want to play 5-6 games in the months of June and July.
Oh, exactly, yeah, because I suppose we kind of saw in that year in 2016 what it was like to play that many games in the summer,
Yeah,
and then I suppose all the training and slogging, it seems all worthwhile. But I remember the year before, then in 2015, we played 3 games and we lost 2 of them, and then you're kind of training for 6 months for 3 championship games. I suppose it's easy to see them why lads go to America and stuff because of the lack of games. So if they could sort something like that out, maybe it'd be great for players because I suppose the amount of training sessions you do, it doesn't really add up then with the amount of matches you played in. So it's something they could look at.
yeah. On the Division Two league this year, obviously, as you said, even mentioned it there, it was so close. You kind of had a bit of a mixed one. I think he bet Kildare the second game, great win. We then disappointed, maybe not just to build on that and try and get a promotion race then.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny the way the league was because we lost the first game to Westmeath, and then it was kind of, I suppose, people from the outside would have been saying that you're going to struggle to stay up, and then we
Yeah,
had to win against Kildare,
yeah,
and people are talking the other way, and then Roscommon beat us, and they went back to the way they were talking, and then so like
yeah,
I suppose listen, you can't control what people say on the outside, but at the same time, we were very close in a lot of games. The Roscommon game we were well beaten, but the Westmeath game we lost by a point, and the Laois game as well. So, but that's just the joys of it. Kildare can say the same; they lost by a point to us, so there's nothing between anyone in the division. Our last game against Cavan, we won by 2 points as well. So, but that's the beauty of the division because the games are so close. There's no big gap between any team. I
yeah.
suppose if one team doesn't bring a high level of performance on one day against one team, then they could, I suppose, get a beating like we got against Roscommon. But more often than not, there's only 2 or 3 points between any team, which is great. Like because the games are so enjoyable because you know they're winnable.
Yeah, would you have even been thinking of tier two going into the league this year at all, or are you just thinking aiming for promotion?
To be honest, we didn't really. I suppose we lost a few key players this year in the league before it started, and we were just thinking about taking every game as it comes.
Yeah,
And because, like that, a few teams lost players due to travelling that you don't know who you're up against. So we were just like some of the games we might have been expected to win, we didn't win, and then other games we weren't expected to do well in, we won. So it's just funny. Like you have to take every game as it comes because if you look ahead at maybe a team that you might be perceived to be better than the next game is a game you're going to lose. So like that, I suppose it's brilliant league. As I say, it's there's nothing between any team, and again, if it finishes, it'll be a very exciting finish
yeah.
for all counties because I suppose even the bottom teams can still aim for promotion because it's that tight. So and at least I suppose we'll be playing those games in the latter stages of the year where they should be played.
Yeah, we'll move on to a tiny bit about the club now. You obviously won three Clare Senior Football Championships. What's it like, I suppose, winning a club championship?
It's a brilliant feeling. I suppose in 2012 we were relegated from the senior Clare Championship, and that was a big blow to the club. But we kind of picked ourselves up in 2013, and we got to Munster Intermediate final, and that kind of gave us a good bit of confidence then, that we were able to compete with some of the clubs in Clare. Um, and then the following year, then we got to quarter final, and then the following year after that, we kind of, I suppose, we did get lucky in that some of the bigger teams, I suppose, lost on the way before the final. It kind of opened up for 4 new teams in the semi-final, and we took our chance then, and that gave us confidence then to compete for the years gone by, and we won the last 2 championships as well. But I think that the year 2015 was crucial because it was 4 new teams who were in the semi-final, and we were the ones who won the championship that year. But if it was any other 3 teams, they would have got a bounce the following year, and maybe our guys wouldn't have been as, I suppose, enthusiastic about the coming years gone by because they know that there's a chance that they could win a championship. So it's funny the way things can turn just on a flip of a coin too.
Yeah, like obviously it's great to win a provincial championship with your county, but how special is it to win like a county senior title with your club that you've been playing with these lads for whatever 10, 15 years, however many, going through the underage and to win the biggest prize in Clare football?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, really. I suppose you'd see as well what it means to your family because they're the ones who brought you down to the pitch from a
Yeah,
very young age. So some of your best friends as well are playing with the team, and I suppose you'd see the colour it brings to the town and how positive people are talking about Milltown football. So, no, I suppose it's hard to describe at times because the way we've turned things around since getting relegated has been fantastic. And I suppose you could be all day listening off to people who it's down to, because a lot of people have changed the views of the club from the outside and inside. So, no, it's positive at the moment, but listen, we well know you need to kind of make hay while the sun shines, because you're not going to have the
Yeah.
players or people involved in management or I suppose a board level for very long. So you just need to make use of it while you can.
Yeah, do you even think the demands on club players nowadays are a bit too much? That obviously they're not at the levels of the inter-county setup, but that even the trainings, you have to be fitness levels. You have to hear about drinking bans the whole time. Like, do you think the demands are just that bit too much on club players nowadays?
I think they're very similar to county players, only that I suppose I know there's a lack of games at times during the summer months, but I suppose that is a good time in for guys to get away on holidays and I suppose engage in social activities. So that is the plus side to the club. Then while the county players are playing, at least they might could ask the manager for a weekend off, or I
Yeah.
suppose they have a stag party or something up. Whereas for a county, you don't have that luxury. You have to wait until the county and club is finished. So while I do think club players are putting as much into it as county players, there is that bit of leeway at club where you can go away for a weekend if needs be. And I think that's great and it should continue because it's only healthy, really.
Yeah, I even mentioned like the inter-county training is nearly like it's not professional, but it has the professional aspects to it. Like, do you see that as a negative or, as a positive that it's developing the game year on year?
I do think it's a positive because I suppose lads would sign up to it if they didn't love the lifestyle it brings. I suppose it brings a very healthy lifestyle, and like what else would you be doing? I suppose people take a year out to travel, and I can totally see why they would, because traveling
Yeah.
is a great experience. But if you weren't doing that, then you'd just be inside in the pub drinking. So, and like that would have a negative, I suppose you'd have a negative mindset as a result. So like it's very positive and you're making your family, your parents proud, members of your community. There's a lot of positive things towards it. So I think while it is very professional, you have to give up a lot of things. It's worth it because there's so many positives out of it, and you have a healthier lifestyle as a result.
Yeah, like what's the aim for Clare in the future? Like in your own opinion, is it to try and get promoted from Division Two, maybe get into Division One for a year, and then maybe get back to the Super Eight?
Well, I suppose it's definitely every year you're trying to improve on your previous year. So last year we got to the last 12 in the championship, and I suppose we just about stayed up in Division Two. So this year, I suppose you're just looking to improve on that, and it's just year on year you're always looking to get better. So
Yeah.
that's really it. I suppose it's more short term goals than long term goals, because once if you do get to a Super Eight or you do get to Munster final and you do well in it, then you can further your aims then. But until you do that, then you can't. You have to be realistic too.
Yeah, even the way the draw worked out, I think was it Ye and Tipperary are on one side and then Kerry and Cork another. I mean, if one of you gets the Munster final, then you're straight away in the last. Well, was the last 12. I don't know what the structure will be, but it's just even getting to the Munster final can help you get to the last eight. Then.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great opportunity for the four teams on the other side of the draw this year, because usually, I suppose, in the semi-final would be seeded with Cork and Kerry on either side. So there's a huge card for any of the four teams on that side. And again, we don't know the championship structure. So if you do get to a Munster final, are you out if you lose, or do you go
Yeah.
to the Super Eight? So I suppose a lot of counties are still waiting to see what way they're going to structure it. But I suppose when it does recommence, it's going to be exciting for everyone if it is knockout championship, because it's not something we're used to, and I think you'll see better games as well as a result.
Yeah, we'll just end up with a few quick fire questions. So, first one will be what will be your greatest strength on the field?
I'd say my fitness.
Have you a favourite score that you've scored in a game?
Yeah, I'd say the winning point against Clare in the Division 3 league final. That was special, right? That was something like I suppose something I always wanted to do as young lad was kick a pint in Croke Park. So to have that opportunity to kick the last score in that game was very special.
What were your favourite match that you played in?
I'd say the Roscommon game in 2016. Like that, I suppose we hadn't got to the last eight in a number of years, and I suppose the whole team that day, you could have picked 10 or 12 man of the matches. It was just, it was really enjoyable to play in that game because the pace we played at and the type of football we played was really something you could be proud of. So yeah, that day was a special day, right?
And then the last one, who would have been the best player you played with?
Gary Brennan, I'd say, real leader on and off the pitch. He was an example to any young lad who wants to be an intercounty footballer, and he's just a top class man in general. So yeah, Gary Brennan.
Well, Owen, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for coming on.
Sound there, it's a pleasure.